Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. We're going to do something slightly different today. We're going to take a look at some live pictures when we get them from Lotte Hotel World in Seoul. It's an event that's just getting underway to mark World Korean Day, a day to celebrate the efforts of Koreans that live in other countries to build bridges between those countries and Korea. We'll be crossing back over there when President Moon Jae-in gives a speech. We're expecting that to start in about 15 minutes. But in the meantime, that's President Moon Jae-in just making his entrance there and greeting the various officials and Koreans who live overseas, thanking them for their hard work to promote Korea around the world. So yes, we'll be tuning in when President Moon steps up to the podium to take to the stage there. But in the meantime, let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. A large South Korean delegation is in North Korea to mark an important anniversary for the two sides. We have the latest from Pyeongyang. More record-breaking profits for Samsung Electronics. The South Korean tech giant expects to record an operating profit well in excess of $15 billion in quarter three, a 20% increase year over year. Plus, a huge storm is on the way. Typhoon Kong-rey is forecast to lash Korea's southern regions and Jeju Island with heavy rain and strong winds this weekend. Our top story this morning, a group of 160 South Koreans are in the North Korean capital to celebrate the 11th anniversary of the October 4th declaration. An inter-Korean joint event to celebrate that is about to get underway in Pyeongyang. For more, let's connect to our Unification Ministry correspondent Oh Jung-hee, who joins us on the line. So Jung-hee, has this event actually gotten underway yet?
If everything's going according to schedule, then yes, Mark. The celebratory event is supposed to start at 10 a.m. this morning, which is about now, at People's Culture Palace in Pyeongyang and last for an hour and a half. A speech written jointly by Korean representatives from the South, the North, and overseas will be read. It calls for peace and prosperity on the Korean Peninsula and expanding exchanges in all fields while completely getting rid of threat of war and achieving denuclearization. All 160 members of the South Korean delegation will be attending that event, including Seoul's Unification Minister ChoMyoung-gyon, the chair of the ruling Democratic Party Lee Hae-chan, and No Gun-ho. No is the son of the late former President No Moo-hyun, who adopted the October 4th declaration with then North Korean leader Kim Jong-il back in 2007. We do not know who's attending from the North Korean side, but it's likely North Korea's nominal head of state Kim Yong-nam and head of the Reunification Committee RiSon-gwon will attend. This is the first time the two Koreas are holding a celebratory event for the October 4th anniversary. Now, after that event, the delegation from Seoul is to have lunch at Ongryuwan, a restaurant that's famous for Pyongyang's cold noodles. Then, later in the afternoon, they'll look around Mansudae Art Studio, one of North Korea's largest art production centers, in Mangyongdae Children's Palace, a facility for children's extracurricular activities. In the evening, the delegates will watch North Korea's mass games and arts performance and attend a dinner banquet. That's all on the official schedule, but what we should keep our eyes on is whether the two Koreas will hold any sort of inter-Korean talks on the sidelines. Before heading north of the border, Seoul's Unification Minister hinted there will be discussions on how to follow up on the latest September summit agreement. So many speculate there could be high-level talks between Minister ChoMyoung-gyon and his North Korean counterpart RiSon-gwon. And as Seoul's Vice Health Minister and Cultural Heritage Administrator are also there in the north, they too could meet with their North Korean counterparts to discuss medical and cultural cooperation. Mark.
Oh Jung-hee at Seoul's Unification Ministry, thank you ever so much for that report. Now, Seoul's delegation travelled to Pyeongyang on Thursday. At the welcoming dinner that evening, both the South and North Korean representative stressed they're opening a new era of peace and prosperity and should walk on hand in hand. Our Sobo Bin with more.
A new era of peace and prosperity. That's what the South and North Koreans toasted to on Thursday at their welcoming banquet in Pyeongyang. RiSon-gwon, the head of North Korea's Reunification Committee, stressed a new era has come for the Korean people and they should march together on a road to peace.
Thanks to our leaders' patriotism and passion and the people's ironclad will for reunification, a new era of peace and prosperity is now opening. Just as we like the same food, we have the same ideals and the same path ahead of us.
South Korea's unification minister ChoMyoung-gyon highlighted how visiting Pyongyang feels so normal now. He added, the core point of the latest inter-Korean summit agreement is taking real actions, and that has already begun.
With this joint celebration of the October 4th anniversary, we are implementing the Pyeongyang Joint Declaration. I look forward to even more people in both Koreas making peace and prosperity together.
He added, peace and prosperity will definitely settle when the two Koreas are connected by truly demilitarizing the border area and the Korean Peninsula becomes denuclearized. The leader of South Korea's ruling Democratic Party, Lee Hae-chan, who visited Pyongyang back in 2007 as a prime minister of the Roh-moo-yeon administration, said he feels a major change is underway. He said he's grateful that possibly 4 inter-Korean summits could take place this year alone.
We've been divided for 70 years, and that has harmed us so much. I'm grateful we're ending that era of division and confrontation and shifting to a new era of peace and prosperity.
Earlier on Thursday, the South Korean delegation toured a science technology complex in Pyongyang and watched a music performance by North Korean singers and bands. 160 South Koreans went to Pyongyang on Thursday for a 3-day trip to celebrate the 11th anniversary of the 2007 summit agreement called the October 4th Declaration. 서보빈, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, the United States has imposed sanctions on a Turkish company and several individuals for their alleged violation of sanctions against North Korea. This comes as the Trump administration continues to slap sanctions on anyone dealing illegally with the regime. Lee Seung-jae reports.
The U.S. Treasury Department said on Thursday that it's targeting Turkish company SIA Falcon International Group for attempting to trade in weapons and luxury goods with North Korea in breach of UN sanctions against the North. Also sanctioned are the firm's CEO and general manager, both Turkish nationals and North Korean diplomats. According to the Treasury, Lee Song-hun, the economic and commercial counselor at the North Korean embassy in Mongolia, negotiated trade deals involving weapons and luxury goods with SIA Falcon officials in Turkey earlier this year. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said the international community must not stand idly by as UN sanctions are being circumvented, adding the U.S. is deeply committed to the final, fully verified denuclearization of North Korea and will continue to enforce and implement sanctions until that time. The announcement comes ahead of U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's 4th visit to Pyongyang, where he's set to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Sunday to discuss efforts to dismantle the regime's nuclear weapons program and set up a second summit with President Trump. The UN sanctions are designed to deprive the regime of resources to fund its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The latest U.S. sanctions freeze any property or interests of the targeted entity and individuals within the U.S. and bans Americans from doing business with them. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister, who deals with nuclear weapons issues and negotiations with the United States, arrived in Beijing on Thursday on a 2-nation trip that will also take her to Russia. According to North Korea's state-run media, Choe Son-hui's trip will also lead to negotiations involving all 3 of those countries. Choe is expected to seek support from China and Russia, both of whom are traditional allies of North Korea, as the regime looks to advance denuclearization talks with Washington. Samsung Electronics has made a record profit for this year's 3rd quarter. On Friday, it announced that it has made more than $15 billion of business profit, surpassing its previous quarterly record of around $13 billion set in the first quarter of this year. The third quarter profits are 20.4% higher than the same period last year and up by almost 18% from the figures for the second quarter of 2018. The reported profit is seen as an earnings surprise that is well above analysts' expectations. The record profits largely come from strong semiconductor sales, but analysts expect a drop in profits for the fourth quarter as the price of semiconductors is expected to drop. A South Korean national who had been missing since a twin quake tsunami disaster hit Indonesia was found dead on Thursday. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing, with the international community working to provide some much-needed support. Hong Yu reports.
The South Korean man who had been missing in Palu, Indonesia, for 6 days after since the quake and tsunami was found dead Thursday under the rubble of the hotel where he had been staying. The South Korean Foreign Ministry announced that his body was identified by a visual inspection. After speaking with the man's relatives, the South Korean Foreign Ministry will help the family arrange a funeral and bring the family back to South Korea. But many in Indonesia are still waiting for their loved ones to be found. The disaster took the lives of more than 1,400 people and counting, while thousands have been left homeless. In response, the world is moving faster to send relief. The government of Indonesia says more than 20 countries have offered help. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has allocated $15 million from its Central Emergency Response Fund. Mark Lowcock, the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, expects that aid to provide urgent assistance to vulnerable women and children. The UN has urgently deployed staff to the region to help the Indonesian government's own relief efforts by providing food and water and by setting up sanitary facilities. International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is planning to provide Indonesia with more than $22 million in relief funds. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump spoke with Joko Widodo, the Indonesian president, and promised immediate assistance. The U.S. State Department says it has already provided an initial relief fund to the Indonesian authorities and dispatched government disaster experts to understand what additional help they may need. Hong Yu, Arirang News.
Now, Typhoon Kong-rey is expected to hit southern parts of Korea this weekend, bringing heavy downpours and strong winds. The typhoon is forecast to reach Seoul on Jeju Island at around 9 a.m. Saturday, with up to 500 millimeters of rain expected in the region. Eastern coastal regions are also forecast to see up to 300 millimeters before gradually weakening by Sunday. A local court is set to deliver its verdict on former President Lee Myung-bak, who is facing a string of corruption charges. The sentencing hearing will begin at 2 p.m. Korea time at the Seoul Central District Court. Lee was indicted in April on 16 charges ranging from bribery, abuse of power and embezzlement. Last month, prosecutors demanded a 20-year prison term for Lee and a fine of more than $13 million US. Now, the verdict will hinge on whether the court determines Lee is the owner of an auto parts company named Das and whether he used his presidential powers to benefit the firm. While his lawyer has revealed Lee will not be present due to his poor health and other reasons, some watchers say it's because the court decided to allow the hearing to be broadcast live on TV. South Korea's consumer prices in September rose by their fastest pace in 12 months on the back of soaring vegetable prices. According to Statistics Korea on Friday, consumer prices went up 1.9% last month from a year earlier, which is the highest on-year growth since September last year. Prices remained in the 1% growth range for the 12th straight month. Vegetable prices rose by 12.4% on year. Inflation, excluding food and energy items, is up by 1% on year. Western nations have accused Russian military spies of being involved in a series of cyber attacks across the globe. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Aram. So Aram, tell us more about this.
Well, the West says the hacking attacks targeted almost anyone, anywhere who investigates Moscow's alleged involvement in various criminal activities. The U.S. Justice Department said targets included the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, anti-doping agencies, and the American nuclear firm Westinghouse Electric. Washington has charged 7 Russian intelligence officers for conspiracy to commit computer fraud and to commit wire fraud as well as money laundering. The charges came hours after the Netherlands accused 4 Russians of plotting to hack the Hague-based OPCW, which had been probing a chemical attack on a former Russian spy in the UK. London and Australia also accused Russia's spy agency, the GRU, of hacking Ukrainian firms, the US Democratic Party, and a small British TV network. Canada also joined the fray, also saying it was confident that the GRU breached its Centre for Ethics in Sports.
Break into Aram's World News there. We are going to listen in to President Moon Jae-in give a speech to mark World Korean Day.
This year marks the 12th anniversary of the World Korean Day. I would like to congratulate you all on the occasion. As it's being held together with the World Korean Community Leaders Convention, the day has become ever more meaningful. Around the world, you all have contributed greatly to enhancing the pride of our people, and to all of the overseas compatriots and World Korean Community Leaders, I pay my deepest appreciation and respect. This year, I believe that you are visiting your homeland with a special feeling. We have now moved beyond an era of division and confrontation and moving toward establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula. This has all been able to thanks to the support and care sent by all of our overseas compatriots. I remember meeting all of you back 1 year ago. Even back then, the tension surrounding the Korean Peninsula peaked. Ahead of the Pyeongyang Winter Olympics, there were many who worried whether it could be made into a Peace Olympics. However, taking the Pyeongyang Olympics as the opportunity, our citizens and overseas compatriots have gathered their hearts to establish peace and change the destiny of the Korean Peninsula. Then we witnessed a series of events that seemed like dreams. The wind for peace blew from all corners of the world, and at the center of all of them stood our overseas compatriots. In the Philippines, Brazil, Hong Kong, and New Zealand, overseas compatriots have stood at the forefront of promoting the city of Pyeongyang. Whenever I was on my state visit, Korean community leaders have transformed the meetings that I had with overseas compatriots into a Peace Olympic supporting event. In Indonesia and Austria, overseas compatriots formed special groups to help let Pyeongyang shine. You have also raised significant amount of charity hoping for the success of the event. Seoraksan Mountain 5-day traditional market in Cheongsan, Taegalyeong Sheep Ranch, and other travel destinations of Pyeongyang were featured on U.S. CBS morning news shows for 6 times. This was all possible thanks to the passion of our overseas compatriots. Step by step, our compatriots overseas have made voluntary efforts, and the entire world has witnessed how much our Korean citizens and our people long for peace. The door to an era of peace on the Korean Peninsula was opened thanks to the unified will of our people and overseas compatriots. To all of you who have contributed to the Peace Olympics and an era of peace on the Korean Peninsula, I extend my deepest gratitude on behalf of the Korean citizens. Overseas compatriots, you are an essential part of the history of the Republic of Korea. During the Japanese colonial rule from China to Maritime Province to the Americas and Europe, the fight for independence by our overseas compatriots never ended. And after independence, efforts for peace and prosperity on the Korean Peninsula continued on. The stories of our 7.4 million Korean compatriots who have made roots in 179 countries themselves are the dynamic history of the Republic of Korea. The ruining of the country, independence, economic development, and democratization, and other symbols of the era were portrayed into asylum, labor immigration, adoption, international marriage, studying overseas, and entering the foreign market, which are tightly knitted to the lives of our compatriots. Just like the slogan of this year's event, the Republic of Korea and overseas compatriots are one. The time for the Republic of Korea and our compatriots passed as we shared happiness and sorrow. The growth of our country became the pride of our compatriots, and the growth of our compatriots led to the growth of the Republic of Korea. I'm very proud of the history of the Republic of Korea that we are making together. Honorable overseas compatriots, 7.4 million overseas compatriots are a big strength of the Republic of Korea. And personally, whenever I make state visits, I feel the great energy from all of you. However, as you all have contributed to the development of your homeland, it's unfortunate that we don't have a related legislature. This is a task that we will work together with the National Assembly, and my administration will do what we can in the first place. The government should have a renewed perspective of the overseas compatriots. We will make sure to establish and execute policies for Koreans living overseas. We will open our ears to your voices even more. Globally, we're witnessing an increase in natural disaster, terror, and other crimes. We will proactively protect your lives and safety. To this end, we have significantly increased the budget for overseas compatriots. We've also expanded the organization and personnel to support all of you. Just days ago, the earthquake and tsunami that struck Indonesia caused casualties. We've exerted our full efforts so that every one of our citizens could return sound and safe. Yet we've been notified that a missing Korean man was found dead yesterday, and I extend my deepest condolences to the families. Last May, we've opened the safety centers for overseas Koreans. These centers are monitoring accidents all across the world 24/7 and providing safety information to our compatriots as soon as they take place. We're also expanding the infrastructure of diplomatic offices overseas. An online hotline system will be established to alleviate discomfort in your daily lives. We're just beginning now. Whenever our overseas compatriots are encountering difficulties, the Republic of Korea aims to be the homeland where you can rely on the most. Your descendants are the descendants of the Republic of Korea. We'll expand education on our culture, history, and language so that your children will not forget their motherland. With the pride that we are one people, we will provide support that you can live in stability in all corners of the world. Compatriots overseas, together with all of you who have made Pyeongyang a land of peace and harmony, I would like to dream bigger. A dream where the two Koreas become one in eternal peace. A dream where you and your children may return to your homeland via car and train. A dream where the Korean Peninsula makes prosperity together with the world, moving beyond the Northeast Asia. These are my dreams that I would like to achieve with all of you. Next year marks the 100th anniversary of the March 1st independence movement and the establishment of the interim government of the Republic of Korea. The centennial event of the March 1st movement will be celebrated together by the two Koreas. I hope that it can be a festival for all of our people, where the South North Koreas, as well as the 7.4 million overseas compatriots come together. It will be a great opportunity for the two Koreas to overcome differences. And taking this opportunity, I would like to ask for your support from the leaders of the Korean communities overseas. And as I was on a plane flying to and from Pyeongyang, Samjiyon, and Seoul, I couldn't see a divided territory. Rather, our land was one with beautiful lakes and mountains. Now we need a unified and united efforts exerted by all of our people. As you have become the pride of the Republic of Korea by standing tall from unfamiliar environments, I ask you to transform crises into opportunities and make the impossible a possibility. Compatriots, please join us as we write a new history for a greater Korea. Thank you very much.
대통령님 말씀 감사합니다. 다시 한번 큰
Okay, there we have it. That was President Moon Jae-in giving a speech to mark the 12th World Korean Day at Lotte Hotel World in Jamsil, Seoul. Apologies for the abrupt cutaway from the world news there, but we wanted to cover what the South Korean leader had to say. Just to give you a brief wrap-up of what he mentioned, he thanked overseas Koreans for supporting the Pyeongyang Winter Olympics, which was a wonderful success. He said the 7.4 million Koreans that live in well over 100 countries around the world have really helped to build Korea into what it is today. And he promised to make policies that help overseas Koreans live a more comfortable life, and also urged them to support his administration's policies towards North Korea as we are experiencing this very rapid thawing of ties between the North and the South. Now, we are going to turn back to our Noah Aram because he's going to continue to fill us in on the world news. Let's go back to the story about Russia because it is a big story. Adam, the West, including the US and the UK, are once again pointing an accusing finger at Moscow over alleged hacking. So if you wouldn't mind, and apologies for before, just walk us through what's the latest.
Well, Mark, as I was saying before President Moon Jae-in's speech, the West is accusing Russia of pretty much targeting any institution or any government ministry that is probing alleged involvement in various alleged crimes done by Moscow. Washington has charged 7 Russian intelligence officers for conspiracy to commit computer fraud and money laundering. The charges came hours after the Netherlands accused 4 Russians of plotting to hack the Hague-based OPCW. They were probing the chemical attack on a former Russian spy in the UK. Both the UK and Australia are accusing Russia's spy agency, the GRU, of hacking Ukrainian firms, the US Democratic Party and a small British TV network. Canada is also saying Russia has hacked its ethics and sports centre and the Montreal-based World Anti-Doping Agency. The chiefs of the EU Council and NATO, meanwhile, denounced Russia for these cyber plots.
On behalf of the EU, I want to fully condemn this attack and express our complete solidarity with those affected. I will put the issue of cybersecurity on the agenda of the next European Council.
Russia must stop this reckless pattern of behavior, including the use of force against its neighbors, attempted interference in election processes, and widespread disinformation and campaigns.
Meanwhile, Russia, as it has done before, has defiantly denied the charges and went on to accuse the US of running a clandestine biological weapons lab in violation of international conventions, allegations the Pentagon rejected. Now, staying with cyber attacks, Apple and Amazon have vehemently denied reports their servers were compromised, this time by Chinese spies. Bloomberg reported Thursday that Chinese intelligence officers were able to infiltrate the firm's systems by inserting malicious computer chips into equipment also used by about 30 other companies and multiple US government agencies. That would give Beijing secret access to their internal networks. The US and Chinese governments, however, did not issue an immediate response yet to the report. The Japanese city of Osaka has ended its sister city relationship with San Francisco to protest the display of a statue symbolizing Japan's wartime use of sexual slaves. Osaka Mayor Hirofumi Yoshimura said San Francisco's recognition of the so-called Comfort Women statue, quote, destroyed the two sides' relationship of trust. The monument depicts three women, one from Korea, the other from China and the other from the Philippines, who represent girls forced to work in frontline brothels during Japanese colonialism. A spokesperson for San Francisco Mayor London Breed said Yoshimura's decision was unfortunate, adding the city's relationship will be maintained via people-to-people ties.
Thank you, as always, to Arnaud Aram for the world news. We got a double update there, but let's move on to the rest of the day's news. It's one of the biggest cultural events on the calendar here in South Korea. It's the Busan International Film Festival, and it is back for its 23rd edition in Korea's southern port city. It really is a lot of fun, and our Kim Da-mi checked out last night's glitzy and glamorous opening ceremony and tells us what to expect from this year's festival.
Asia's biggest film event, the 2018 Busan International Film Festival, opened on Thursday. Renowned South Korean actors and actresses, including Han Ji-min and Jang Dong-gun, walked along the red carpet in glamorous outfits and one of the highlights of the event. For 3 years in a row, a South Korean film has been chosen to open the festival. In the movie Beautiful Days, directed by Yoon Jae-ho, South Korean actress Lee Na-young plays a North Korean woman who abandons her family for a better life. The festival will feature 323 films from 79 countries, screened in 5 theaters across the city, including Busan Cinema Center. 115 of those films will premiere in Korea for the first time. Busan Classic is a new addition to the festival this year, highlighting some of the classic works of master filmmakers. In addition to enjoying those masterpieces, the audience can also interact with filmmakers and stars more intimately through open talks. Martial arts drama Master Z: The Ip Man Legacy by Hong Kong's Yuan Wu-ping will close the 10-day-long festival. Despite Typhoon Kong-rey gate-crashing the event, movie lovers from all around the world are excited to be here now that the film reels have started rolling. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News, Busan.
Now, every year, an event is held right here in Seoul to encourage foreigners to better understand Korean culture by giving them the opportunity to come here, visit the country and express their feelings, not in their native language, but in Korean. Won Jong-hwan reports.
Foreigners who have a talent for speaking Korean are in Seoul to compete in an event organized by the King Sejong Institute Foundation. Out of some 2,600 applicants who applied from 56 countries for this year's edition, 12 non-native Korean speakers were invited to compete in the final round of the annual Korean speech contest at the COEX Convention Center in southern Seoul. Each challenger was given a few minutes to give a speech to the panel. They were randomly chosen to speak freely on one of the 3 topics: the Korean language, K-culture, or inter-Korean relations. Due to the recent peaceful developments on the Korean Peninsula, this edition had a special topic on inter-Korean relations, presenting how they, as a foreigner, view the issue.
특히 오랫동안 진행되어 온 남북 이산가족 상봉 프로그램을 보면 눈물을 참을 수 없고 남북 간의 국민들의 결속력이 아주 강하다는 생각이 듭니다. 각 나라는 다른 이념을 갖고 발전되었으나 현재까지 두 나라의 사람들은 같은 피가 흐르고
평화, 새로운 미래를 얻기 위해 정은 정말 중요한 문화라고 생각합니다. 한반도 어디에 살든지 상관없이 우리 모두 정을 잊지 않으려고 노력하고 정 나누면서.
Since 2014, over 7,000 participants have applied to take part at this event, each having their own unique reason for learning Korean.
저는 한국어를 이렇게 3년 전부터 시작하고 경제적 관심이 있어서 한국 어떻게 30년 전에 이렇게 확 이렇게 증가했는.
저는 태권도를 너무 좋아해서 게다가 우리 태권도 사모님은 한국 사람이셨습니다. 그래서 저는 한국어를 접하게 되었고.
The winner, who was awarded the chance to study in Korea for 2 semesters, says she would like to become a Korean teacher one day.
한국어를 통해 위로를 많이 받았습니다. 굉장히 우울할 때 한국 예능을 보고 위로를 받았는데 그래서 저도 다른 사람한테 도움을 주고 싶습니다. 그래서 나중에 우리나라 사람들한테 한국어 선생님이 되고 싶습니다.
원정환, 아리랑 뉴스.
Good morning. Typhoon Kong-rey is edging toward the Korean Peninsula and will bring torrential showers, strong winds, and high waves to the country until Saturday evening. And most regions are affected by the typhoon, seeing moderate to heavy showers since early this morning. And Seoul started to see rain from mid-morning, and the rain will come down harder as the morning goes on. And those on Jeju and along Korea's eastern and southern coast will be hit the hardest, so brace for severe stormy weather with heavy showers of more than 300 millimeters into Saturday. Meanwhile, typhoon and high wave advisories have been issued for the waters of Jeju Island, and the strong wind advisory and the heavy rain advisory have also been issued in Jeju. And it's very likely flights and ferries in and out of Jeju will be cancelled. Northern regions will see showers picking up as the day goes on, and there should be a bit of drop in the temperature readings, so let's take a closer look. Most regions will have highs ranging from 18 to 24 degrees Celsius this afternoon, so make sure to keep an eye on the weather until Sunday. That's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Do stay tuned to Arirang TV. We'll have our next newscast coming up as well at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. So until then, goodbye.